If you are a frequent listener to the podcast, you know that we have been sponsored by Fuji Sports for quite some time now. Whether you're looking for apparel, equipment, bags, or accessories, Fuji Sports has got it covered. Go to Fujisports.com to see the latest selection of everything you need for your jiu-jitsu, judo, or MMA journey. That's Fujisports.com. Let me take a minute to tell you about RŌL TV. If you're looking to take your jiu-jitsu to the next level and supplement your BJJ education, then RŌL TV has you covered. RŌLAcademy.tv has over 1,500 videos covering individual techniques, positions, and concepts, including seminars and workshops with top-level competitors and instructors like Chris Wojcik, Robert Drysdale, Aaron Hurley, Emily Kwok, and more. Whether you are a beginner or a more advanced student, RŌL TV is the online platform that can take your jiu-jitsu to the next level. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you listen. This helps us bring you the great guests and amazing content that you've come to expect. In this episode, Thomas's guest engages in a deep conversation exploring his journey from a competitive athlete to a successful instructor and business owner. He shares his insights about the transition from being a self-focused competitor to a mentor who prioritizes the growth of others. He emphasizes the importance of hard work, discipline, and the willingness to face challenges, drawing from his own experiences of moving to the United States and adapting to a new environment. Here's the RŌL Radio with an entrepreneur, 2023 world champion, and the owner of Risecore Jiu-Jitsu, Johnatha Alves.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we are live. Professor, welcome to the show. Welcome to RŌL Radio. I'm glad that we were able to connect and have you on the show. I'm excited about this conversation. Before we started, you said that your Mondays are very slow. Is that something that you enjoy, a beginning of the week being a little bit slower than the hectic end of the week?
First of all, thank you, Thomas, for having me on your show, hosting this podcast for the viewers. Thank you very much. And answering your question, it's just different, as an athlete. Before, our days start Mondays, like you have Monday through Friday, and weekends you compete. Now, as a instructor, that Mondays are slower, especially the way how we operate here at the studio. Mondays are always going to be slower for us because our members, they always go to different academies, and we just support them with small groups here to help them boost their technical level. But yeah, I kind of like it. It's different, but pretty much the same. But I don't really care. We work pretty much every day out of the week here, and it doesn't feel like we are working. It just feels like you're just building something. And working Mondays or Sundays or Saturdays, it doesn't really matter for us.
Do you feel like that work is work, or do you feel like it's more something that you love? Many people view this different way. Some say even if you love things, it's still work, and others say, well, if you do something passionate, then it doesn't feel like work. How does that feel for you?
Honestly, it's always gonna have things that you're gonna have to do that will feel like work, things that you don't want to do, but you have to do. But you always need to see the end of the tunnel. You need to have that tunnel vision and make sure that you're pursuing something that eventually will be a passion. Every time you're doing something that you don't like, you need to have that discipline and say, well, I don't like it now, but I'm going to like the results later. And I always have this positive thinking helps me to look at the end of the tunnel and make sure that I stay motivated, to come and work and give my best to the students, to what I'm building outside, to the new ideas, and to the people that always also support the project.
What is the end of the tunnel? What does that mean for you?
It means like making something different, helping people, making something different. Jiu-Jitsu is just a tool, that impacted others' lives. And we use this tool to help people grow. It's not only grow as a hobby, but grow as a person. Grow. They take their time, especially like us. We work only with adults over 30. We help these adults. They take 1 hour for their day to dedicating to jiu-jitsu. So we need to help these people and give the best product, the best service, and serve them. When I say the end of the tunnel, is just helping people, more and more people, and have this impact through jiu-jitsu, because that's all I know. That's what I grew up doing. It's like if I was an artist, I would try to impact people through my art. If I was as a fighter, you try to impact people through fighting. As a instructor, you try to impact people with your instruction, with your teaching. As a business owner, you want to impact people with your service or product. And I believe that's the end of the tunnel. That's why it's I believe it's an endless tunnel. It's just more about how much you want to grow, how big you want to be, how many people you want to impact, because this learning process is just endless.
That's a big change from competing and being an athlete, isn't it?
It is a big change, honestly. Competing, it's very much about being, how can I clearly explain this? You have to be very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
It's always about you. It's you, and you. And then you always need to think about yourself and how much you're going to improve your jiu-jitsu, how much you're going to take your jiu-jitsu to the next level, how you're going to compete the next one, how you're going to make this happen. So you always have to look at yourself and look how good you're going to get. But now, as a business owner, jiu-jitsu is, you need other people to improve, but it's mostly like yourself and you. But as a business, you need to think about the team. You need to think about people that are helping you, the people, our customers, and how much you're going to help them, all the online people, the online members. So you need to think more about other people than yourself. So I think that's the big difference between competing, being a professional athlete, and being a business owner. You need to completely shift your mindset from you to others, and then you need to help others succeed. You need to build a platform. You need to help the members, because if the members are not happy, you don't have a business. So the members,
that is very true.
And if the members say that they don't like what you're serving, if you don't change right away, you're gonna have their honest, feedback, the output. But yeah, if you don't have a good product, you don't have a business. If you're not a good teammate, if you're not a good team member, if you're not a good leader, people they don't want to work with you. So it's mostly about helping others and being a good person, pretty much. Because once you have values, you attract people like-minded, and then they join you, and then you're just working with people that you like to work with.
Do you think this is why a lot of athletes don't make good coaches or good instructors? Like I'm even thinking outside of jiu-jitsu. Like you look at basketball or soccer, there's not a lot of really good players. Those who are really, really, really good who go into coaching. Some do, but not all of them.
It's two different things. So you see, one side is the person that's fighting for the first place, the gold medal, the status. So you want the status of being the champion, like you want to be the gold medalist, you want to be the best in the world. All the attention, it's on you. So it's hard to shift this mindset when all the attention is on you. You're driven by the status, and people there, they say good things about you. Some people, they say bad things about you, but you are the attention. But once you move to the other side, it's not a very exciting world. Since you're a little kid, you're you have all the attention, and then you're gonna be the man, and everybody's gonna tell you that you're gonna be the champion, and you're gonna beat everyone, and you're gonna win everything. And then once you go to the other side, it's not as exciting. You're working with someone they don't even know who you are. They're gonna join. And people, when they open the schools, they think they're gonna have black belt world champions following them and helping them and trying to learn from them. But once you open a school, you're gonna find more white belts who don't even know about you. They just want to learn, and they don't care about who you are. They just want to have a good instruction. I think that's the reality a lot of people have to face, to be not as important and to start from the zero, to learn something new, because you learn how to be an athlete, you learn how to be a fighter, but now you need to learn how to get all of your skills that you learned throughout the years to put these skills on somebody else. Say, this is all I know, and I need to give it to you and make you understand, make it digestible for somebody else. And I don't believe a lot of people have the patience to do that, and also, since they are the stars, that's hard to move from being a star to teaching people that they don't even know who you are.
What was the hardest thing for you? I mean, those who know you, it's not a secret that you've had a lot of success on an international level. I mean, World Championship, Pan Am Championship, on multiple levels. I mean, as a color belt and then as a black belt. I mean, there's no question that you found yourself in a spotlight. People have still look up to you from that perspective. Now, a few years later, now you find yourself by choice, but you find yourself in the situations, and now you are in let's just say the shadow of being a coach. You are the one who's supporting others. The spotlight is no longer on you at this point. What was the hardest part for you to make the transition?
Honestly, I don't think the hardest part was a transition from being an athlete to do something else. The hardest part, in my opinion, for myself, was to find what I want to do. Because growing up, once you start getting close to the top, anyone that has someone who's at the top level at their academy, they'll understand what I'm saying. Everybody comes up to you and say, you're going to open a gym, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. They want to know what's going to be next. Once you're the champion, what's coming next? Another championship, another Worlds, another Pans, another Brazilian Nationals, or you're going to open a school. And that's, growing up, I saw that there are two paths. One, going to be an athlete and retiring and then open a gym. And then eventually I found about the online, and then there was another thing that was the instructionals. People, they start launching instructionals. Like, what's the retirement? What's the next step for an athlete? I don't think there's only one thing that you can do. You have to stop competing, and then you have to open the gym, and you have to teach kids, and you have to move. And I was like, that was not my passion at all. I was like, growing up, I always knew that I don't want to have a regular gym where we're going to have a gym, we're going to have instructors, and then we're going to run class the ways how the class are ran nowadays. I don't want to have to deal with certain things that a regular gym has to deal with nowadays. I just wanted to do something different. I was like, but there's nothing out there that makes me excited at this moment. And then I was like, what can I do that I can still be excited, I can still compete, and do something aside that I can learn? I was like, I just cannot find anything. And then I had to explore, I had to be exposed. And then that's when I got into content creation, filming, and then creating content. And then I worked with that for a very long time. And then once I got good at that, I was like, well, I already have this piece. Now I know jiu-jitsu, I know content creation, I know production. And why don't I just merge these two together? It's just going to be the glue. And what's going to be the glue to bring one passion, which is jiu-jitsu, instruction, helping others, and bring the second passion, which is camera production, content creation that I learned, and then I found that was a passion of mine. How can I glue it together? I was like, that's gonna be the mat. That's gonna be the studio. And I was like, that's when we can film jiu-jitsu the way I like the production to be, and then we can show the best jiu-jitsu possible and deliver that to our members. And here we are.
Here you are. Do you think that all this starts with a dream and in some capacity? And I'm not even talking about you specifically, but this ability to, well, do what we want. Like you said a moment ago that you didn't know what you want to do. It was confusing moment in your life, and then you find these pieces, you glue them together. Did it all started with one particular like dream, a thought, like this is what I'm gonna do?
No, not at all, honestly. For a lot of people, they always have it figured out. That's what it seems like, you know. We talk because we grew up together with a bunch of kids wanting to compete as well, a bunch of kids coming in and out from all over the place. And when you talk to these kids, it was like, what are you gonna do afterwards? You know, not a lot of kids they talk about it. It's like, what are you gonna do afterwards? Like we are kids now, but what are you gonna do later? And most of the kids are like, I want to be the champion. I want to teach seminars. I want to uh, get popular. I want to make money competing. And I was like, what after competing? And it's like, no, I want to do this. But it was like, you know, when it was my turn to say, I didn't have it figured out. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I just want to compete at this moment, but I need to figure it out. It's like, why don't you have a gym? You're so good. You're a good instructor. Why don't you have a gym? Just you stop competing. Once you stop competing, open a gym. Find an investor, open a gym. I was like, I don't think that's my thing. I'll pass this one, but I'll figure it out.
Do you feel that some people fall into this trap of one, not knowing what to do, what's next, and they are unable to admit this to themselves, and then because of external pressures, they do something they don't want to do? Perhaps parents or kids or kids around them or friends or peer pressure or maybe even, you know, influencing from outside, from other people around us. We just simply because we just don't say, I don't know. I need to figure it out. I'm not ready for a decision yet. We fall into these traps of being pressured into situations we don't want to do.
I do believe so. I do believe many of these kids, because if you know, we're like 15, 14, moving to a different country, trying to, you know, pursue our goals. And if I ask a 15 years old kid, I don't believe they know what they're saying, you know. It's like they're 15 and they shouldn't know.
I think 25-year-old people don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like most of them, they don't know, but you know, like they just want to follow what's safe.
Yeah.
You know, I want to follow this because this is my passion, and I believe because that guy made money, I can make money. Because that guy is not even a champion, or I can do it, and I'm gonna do it because that's the only way to do it. But I don't believe that's the only way to do it, and it takes time. It takes, and especially because we are living in such a bubble where we don't see anything else from the outside. We live jiu-jitsu, breathe jiu-jitsu. We do this all day. And then you know jiu-jitsu, but you don't know the outside world. You don't know the news. You don't know anything that's happening outside of the world, outside of IBJJF, ATC, and all these platforms that's provided nowadays.
100%.
And you're not exposed. You know, I was very, very lucky to meet great people, you know, as I was competing, as I was teaching, and older people that, you know, would always give me good advice, and then always put me in a position where I was exposed to learn. I was exposed to see new things that I don't think I would ever thought about if I didn't meet them. So I think that was a big part of it. It's like understanding that there is more things out there. There is more things fun to do, and then you just have to keep learning. You have to stay exposed, because once you learn enough, you're like, now I think I'm ready. I don't think I need to learn anything else. Those are my passions. Then you find the paper, you know, you find the glue to put everything together in a paper. So you take all the piece, and then you put it in one place, and then that's going to be your business. Just find many different passions, and don't be scared of doing something completely different that you do. I went from doing jiu-jitsu to doing working half of my time in a real estate company, and then after that working almost full time, producing videos, making content. I was not scared to try something completely new and maybe fail. Maybe that was not going to be my passion. Maybe I didn't like that, but I knew I was not going to like that. At least, it's like if you don't know what you want, if you don't know what you want in life, what you're gonna do, just do something. Do something, and then if it doesn't work, at least there's one thing that doesn't work in your life, and then you try to find the next thing and the next thing. At some point, you're gonna find what you want and what you like to do.
I feel like this is where a lot of people really miss that point, is that they are unwilling to try. They're unwilling to take the risk. They're just unwilling to give it a shot with the fear of that it will fail. And if you never try, I mean, you will never succeed. I mean, it's just, there is no step one, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
I do feel the same way, especially as a fighter. You go to big stage in such a young age. You're like 19 and thousands of people watching you when you're coming up, when you're an upcoming kid. And it's a big responsibility for someone like that. You don't want to walk backwards because it feels backwards when you have to be a white belt again. You know what I mean? You're pretty much, you're going backwards because you learn something new, but eventually it's going to be something more positive. But it's hard to go from a place where you're the man and you're doing this and you're being the champion. A lot of them, they have to be competing for a very long time. I don't recommend people to stop as early, but I always recommend people to have different passions. You don't have to rely only one passion. This is what I'm good at, and that's where I want to live the rest of my life. They need to explore different passions, and this passion doesn't have to be anything related with jiu-jitsu. And that's where the best ideas come from place that's not from jiu-jitsu. Because if all of your ideas come from jiu-jitsu, you're just going to be pretty much copying what other people are doing. You're going to be doing the same. But when your ideas come from different place, that's when you innovate. That's when you bring new ideas to jiu-jitsu, and potentially you're going to help jiu-jitsu grow as well.
Yeah, I love it. I love the fact that you talk about vulnerability, taking risk, and I mean, we could fail, but if we never try, it just simply will not work. Did you feel pressure when you were, on that large stage? I mean, stepping in front of it doesn't matter. I mean, Pan Ams or Worlds. I mean, we are talking about thousands of people. Even at lower belts, I mean, still, you are in a very much so a spotlight. And I mean, you were young.
Yeah. We moved from a different country in a very young age, deciding to, this is what we want. We need to make a decision once you're going to a different country where you don't speak the language, and you need to grow in this place. And then you start building your audience, people that like your style, they want to watch you fighting against other people. But it's a lot of pressure. If I tell you it's not a lot of pressure, I would be lying at this moment. But it is a lot of pressure. You feel nervous. You feel like sometimes, you feel scared. You don't want to go there, but you have to know how to deal with that. That's the good part of jiu-jitsu when you're doing since you're young. There are benefits from doing that, and the benefits are you have to face your fears every single time. It's like, I don't feel like doing it. You have to have discipline. You're like, I'm scared, I'm nervous, I don't want to step onto those stage. You have to face your fear, because most of the times, if I tell you, most of the times you face these situations where you're fighting in front of a lot of people. A lot of the times everything is here in your head. Your level is already good. You know you're gonna win. You know you have to level. You have the level to win, but everything is in your mind. But once you beat your mind, once you step on the mat, once you get the fight going, everything just fades away. And then that's when you know.
So how do you do this when you are a teenager or even 18 or 19? I mean, this is so, like, if we look at this from a human perspective, what you are describing is making mature decisions, analyzing the situation, being, self-critical of yourself and making some choices for yourself, but also ignoring distractions and acting in a mature way in a sense of making responsible decisions and focus. Focus is so important, and the distractions are it's just so many of them around us. How do you achieve this when you are so young?
You learn. Jiu-Jitsu is not the same that it used to be years ago. If you think about Jiu-Jitsu in Brazil years ago, 20 years ago, that's when I started training. You're going to see that kids class, they're not popular. If you see in that perspective, you would show up in a gym and then kids class, they're not popular. You had to hang out with adults to be able to evolve, to improve your Jiu-Jitsu. And since you're a 12 years old, 10 years old kid hanging out with adults, you start picking up, their confidence, how they do it. And then you start watching. You have your role model, which is your professor or the leader or the guy who is good at the gym. And he's already 25, 30 years old. And you start looking up to these people. And then you start, learning from their experience. And they will tell you, having good communication with people around you and understand that you're not good at everything. It's okay to say, hey, I'm nervous at this moment. What should I do? Or ask people what they do when they face that situation. It is okay. We're in a stage now where there's so many kids class, and a lot of ego is coming to this place at this point, because I cannot be weak. I cannot say I have fear. I cannot say I'm nervous. I cannot say that I'm having a problem, because everybody, like, there's 30 kids the same age, the same weight as me. I cannot be the weak one. But before, you're around adults that would understand you. They're like, he's just a little kid, let's help this kid out. But now as Jiu-Jitsu is evolving, things are evolving as well and changing, and good things and bad things are coming together.
Yeah, that's definitely unquestionable part, that Jiu-Jitsu continues growing. It's getting bigger and bigger. And, I mean, I remember when I was starting, there was no kids classes whatsoever. There's no such thing as kids classes. And now I feel like kids classes are bigger than adult classes.
Oh yeah.
it's so crazy. It's so crazy to see all of this evolve.
No, it's crazy that before, I remember when I started training Jiu-Jitsu, there was like one or two kids, and they wouldn't even show up every day. There was 2 times a week class. And my professor said, if you want to improve, you have to come to the adults class. I was like, that's how I learned, watching these adults, the purple belts, going to Rhodes, going to Brazilian nationals, whatever competition there was. And then they would just start competing, and I would learn from them. It's just like if I would come up to you as a kid and say, what do you do when this happens? Or you would come up to me and say, don't need to be nervous. This is the way. It's normal to feel nervous. It's normal to face the situations, but you're learning pretty much from the adults. Now we are learning, the kids are learning from the other kids. I see the kid right next to me. He's the same age, he's the same weight, but he's a killer, and I have been losing all the competitions. Now I need to look up to this other kid that's the same age as me. But I cannot say, because he's the same age as me, why am I bad? And we have been trained for the same amount of time, why I'm not good and why that kid's good. They're not going to ask questions. But the education nowadays is to teach the kids how to communicate with each other and how to help each other to grow, grow as a tribe and grow together.
Yeah, I like that. Grow as a tribe, grow together. I really like that. I think we need more of that, to be honest with you. I think there's way too much segregation these days.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of kids, let's go back to the beginning of your time. Do you remember your very first day on the mat?
Yeah, I do remember.
I see that smile on your face.
Yeah.
Do tell, what happened?
Well, especially, I think this place was a very small place. Where I started was not a jiu-jitsu gym, it was an MMA academy. So I started at this MMA academy, and then when we started, my professor, he had this garage. He was training for a while. He was black belt. He just got his black belt. His brother, he was brown belt. And then we walk into this garage, very small mat, and I get into that place. I didn't have a gi. We just trained with sweatpants, shirt. That's it. That was you're good to go. And I went to the wrong time. We went to a time where that was not happening in the kids class. And then the kids class was going to be the next day. But this guy, my professor, he was my professor for a very long time. He came up to me and said, no, you're not going to go back home. You're going to train here. I think there was 5 guys training on the mat, 5 adults. He's like, come here. And you know, like those big balls, the gymnastic balls they have at the gyms. It was like, God, can you stand up on this ball? I was like, I think I can. It was like, try. And then I tried to stand up on the ball. Boom, I fall. Yeah. It was like, try again. It was like, I tried to stand up on the ball. I fall. And then it was like, that's how you do it. And then he showed me a little bit of it. And I was like, I was very obsessed with standing up on that ball. I was like, I didn't even know what jiu-jitsu was. I just took the whole class trying to stand up on that ball. And then I was just, every time I would show up at the gym, I would take at least 10, 15 minutes because I was like, I have to stand up on this ball. I have to make sure I stay on balance here. But I would take so much time to do that. I was so obsessed on standing up on that ball. And then our professor said, hey, let's start training jiu-jitsu. You're going to be good at it. You're very obsessed with something. I can see your obsession. That's just, you're going to get good at jiu-jitsu and I want to support you. Just keep coming and you're going to get better. And after probably 8 weeks training jiu-jitsu, he came up to me and said, you want to compete? And I was like, yeah, how do I compete? He said, I know, just show up and do whatever you're doing here in the competition, in the class. I was like, yeah, I have 8 weeks. I know how to get the mount. I know how to get cross-collar choke. I think that's good enough. I went for my first competition and I won the first competition, my first try. And then after that, I never stopped. But that was pretty much how I had my first class.
All right, rewind a little bit. I find this fascinating. So how old are you? That's number one, back then.
I was almost 9 years old.
9 years old.
8 years, yeah. Pretty
8
much
or
9
9.
years old.
Okay, 8 or 9. So, like, I mean, you are a kid. You're not even a teenager. You are a kid.
No,
right?
Little kid.
So you go to your first competition. First of all, do you know what competition is? Like,
No
have you seen it? Did anybody showed you? Like,
never. I didn't even know what jiu-jitsu was pretty much. I remember like 2 weeks before, because I didn't have a gi. 2 weeks before, my professor like, you're going to compete and you don't have a gi. You need to have a gi to compete. And then I was like, well, but I don't even know where to buy a gi. He said, no, I'm going to get you one. And then he went to a place in Brazil, like just like a Goodwill. It was like, I found this place, like you don't have to buy, just wear this and go to the competition. I was like, what should I do when I go to a competition? It's like, you have to check your weight, you have to do this, you have to do that. And then he just helped me with everything. It was like,
is he there? Is he there with you? Are your parents there? Who's there with you? You're 9.
Yeah, my dad got me into jiu-jitsu, actually. My dad had a job, and I was my parents were divorced. My dad, he has this job selling internet SIM cards for phones at the time. And then he was just knocking doors and sell the SIM cards. And around that time, he was like, his boss had that company, the provider company, and then he had a partnership with his brother at the jiu-jitsu gym. So he had these two businesses going on at the same time. And he was like, God, you have a son. And then every end of the year, they have the Christmas party for the whole company. And then the boss comes up to us and he said, I didn't know you had a kid. Bring him to train jiu-jitsu. And my dad was like, what is jiu-jitsu? It's like, it's fight. It's like, no, I don't want him to get punched. I was like, it's like, no. It's just, there's no punch. There's nothing. I have a gym in, close to your house. Just come bring the kid for one train. It should be good. And after that, my dad say, "Wow, let's see how much the membership is, because like if it's too expensive, I cannot take you." It was like, all right, so let's wait then. And then my dad said, "No, I cannot afford the membership. You're not gonna start. I'm sorry." I was like, "No, but I wanna fight. I wanna do jujitsu." It's like, "No, but I cannot afford the membership." And then he came up to his boss and said, "I cannot afford the membership. I'm gonna take him another time when you can't afford the membership." He said, "No, if you sell this amount of SIM cards, he can train for free." It's like, just sell like this amount of SIM cards, and that's gonna be the deal. And then
Mm-hmm.
we were waiting. I was expecting him to sell until the end of the month to see if he was gonna make it. But then the end of the month, he always did, but he didn't. And it's like, you're not gonna be retrained. And then I was like, and then his boss came up to him and say, "No, no worries. He can train still. Just bring him to the gym. You don't have to pay for anything. Just bring him over. He's gonna train 2 times a week." And then that's when my dad brought me the first time. And then after, I don't know, 8 weeks, I met this other guy from the gym. He was like, he would live like 5 minutes away from where I lived, and then he started giving me a ride to the gym every day.
Isn't it interesting how life unfolds in these mysterious ways? Where, I mean, none of this was in your control. None of it. Zero.
Nah, zero.
It's a bunch of coincidences that your father found himself in this position, and even though he didn't even sell what he had to sell in order for you to do it, and the generosity of the coach, of his boss, allows you to train. And I mean, and look at you now. Fast forward a couple decades, and you do this for a living. This is your life.
Yeah, this is my life. It's interesting to see how, when I start training, I would always ask people, "How did you start?" And then they would always say, "My dad is a black belt. My uncle, he trains jiu-jitsu. This guy, he does jiu-jitsu." I was like, it's crazy, because I was one of the only kids that had no family members related to jiu-jitsu. I was the first generation to do jiu-jitsu. My dad, he still doesn't even know what jiu-jitsu is. My sisters, they don't even know what jiu-jitsu is. So I'm pretty much the only one from the family who actually knows what jiu-jitsu is still.
Do you still talk to your dad? Is he still around?
Yeah. I talk. He's in Brazil still.
Is he proud of you?
Yeah. He's proud of me for sure. He doesn't understand like how this works, but yeah, he's proud.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You also had an opportunity to be part of Believe and Achieve.
Believe and Achieve was a program to bring kids from Brazil to represent AOJ and join the team and have more support.
Yeah.
I didn't come through Believe and Achieve.
Okay.
At the time. They had the program. Here's how it happened. Kyle, the first Believe and Achieve student, a year before I joined AOJ in 2016. End of 2015, they started the program. But the middle of 2015, we had roads, and I came to 5 roads, not under AOJ, nothing related with the AOJ. I just came to US just to compete roads. And I fought this kid, Kyle, and then in the open class semifinals, I didn't know AOJ. I didn't know what they did. I didn't know men's bros and anything. I was just like very into MMA at that time. And my professor knew a lot about the bros. He knew a lot about AOJ. And I fought roads. I won double gold as a juvenile. I come back to Brazil. And then towards the end of the year, was competing in Brazil, winning and getting the titles I needed. And my professor said, "Hey, they just post about this program, the Believe and Achievement program. And this kid that you fought at the semifinals, he won it. And I want to send you there. I want to talk to the bros, because you have the level to be there in this program. And I think the program is going to be better for you than you staying here at our gym, because you don't have anything else to offer." They said, "You're peaked here. We need to send you somewhere else where you can keep improving." And it was like, you know what? It's a good offer, but I want to stay here. I don't want to go. And it was like, no, you should go because that's going to be a good opportunity for you. You need to be a professional. You need to go to different environment. It was like, I don't even know the language. I don't know them. I don't have friends there. I have friends here. I'm comfortable here. That's what was going through my mind at that time. They say, no, you should go. Let's try. I'm going to text him. He texts Guy Mendes, texts Guy, and he goes, hey, I have this kid. He's a world champion. He fought the kid that won the program, and I just want to send him. The kid's talented, but he has no more opportunities here. He's already peaked at our place, but we want to send him somewhere else where he's going to improve more. And they responded same day. They're like, just we already did the program. We have the winners, but send the kid, and then we're gonna try to support him as much as we can as he's here. But we're gonna make sure he's gonna be supported. And then that's when I came to US, and then the deal was go to US, stay for 2 months, and come back. But every 2 months, every 2 weeks, actually, my professor would call me and say, no, stay a little bit more. Stay a little bit more because I didn't speak the language. I had no friends. I was in a place that I didn't even know anything about. And it would always convince me to stay more and more. And then here I am. I'm still here.
This is, I think, was one of the most fascinating parts of your life. Like, as I was reading about you and trying to learn before this conversation, I was really fascinated about this. And from two reasons. One, I think it takes a different individual as a coach or instructor to acknowledge to yourself and to your student that they have peaked and I have to send them somewhere else. I feel like most coaches today, especially in jiu-jitsu, would say, no, he's not going anywhere. Nope. No. We want to keep him. He's good. We want to keep him here. He's gonna represent us. He's not going anywhere. Just the fact of letting go for somebody else's good, I think it's unheard of. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree with you. I do agree. At the time, I didn't even understand the reason, It was the year that I was doing a really good job in Brazil. It was the first year that I was actually making money competing. It was the first money I made in jiu-jitsu. And it was like, it's not that I was living bad life. It was just like, competing, doing what I loved. I was competing every weekend. I was training every day. I was living the best life I could have, I could ever think about when you talk about jiu-jitsu. You're like, you're a 15 years old kid making money doing jiu-jitsu and competing every weekend. I couldn't see anything better than that. It was like, I'm good, I'm established now, and then I just want to keep improving, doing what I'm doing right now and where I am. And then all of a sudden, my professor comes one day. I walk into the house I used to live with my professor, and he comes up to me and says, "You need to go to the United States." I was like, "No, just what do you mean?" He's like, "There's nothing else I can teach you." I was like, "What do you mean? There's nothing else? It's gonna be better for you. You're gonna figure it out." And the trust that he had on me that I was going to figure it out, that's what motivated me to come. It was like, I have to do this. He believes me more than I believe in myself.
Yeah.
I was like,
were you upset about this? I mean, like, what's going through your mind? 15 years old. I mean, that has to be difficult to understand the situation. Like many kids would think about this, like he's kicking me out almost in a sense, right? Like, are you able to process that information?
At first I was lost. Of course, I was like, I didn't understand why I was doing good and why I had to risk everything to go somewhere else. I was like, why do I have to do this? Why do I need to go there? I can win being at this place. I can do this. But I understood what he meant when he said, I have nothing else to show you. I have nothing else to take you. Because what he meant was, it's not that he didn't have a gym. He was doing something completely different than jiu-jitsu. And I understood what he meant by saying, I have nothing else to add to you, which is, I'm not in this industry. You need to go with the winners. They're going to be in this bubble for a very long time. People that are way ahead of me. And at first I was like, I just don't want to go. I just want to stay here. I'm good here. Because everyone's comfortable. They want to stay where they are, you have this fear of losing things, like I just built this. I want to stay here. But then once I came here and I started meeting people and started learning, and he always told me, it's like, go there, you stay there. The worst case scenario of everything that could ever happen, nothing works. You come back to Brazil speaking a different language. And then I was like, wow, that's the worst case scenario. I was like, I think I'm good with that. He's like, make money dollar, make all of your money dollar. Worst case scenario, come back to Brazil. He's speaking a different language. He always told me, like, when you move to US, make sure you speak the language. Make sure you force yourself to get as the best you can be at the native language there. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I need to improve. I need to speak the language. It's like, and then try to make money. Try to learn how to make money and how to live off jiu-jitsu. I was like, yeah, that's good. It's like, that's something that I didn't know when I was in Brazil.
All right, so you got to tell me how this feels. You getting on the airplane. I assume this is the first time you're leaving Brazil.
Second time.
Oh, the second time. Okay. Well, you're getting on the airplane. You're not going to town next door. You're going to a different continent. You're flying over a completely different country. You don't understand what these people are even saying. And I can relate to this so much because I came to US when I was 12. I literally, in a different circumstances, but very much so similar situation. My dad dumped me in a positive way. He put me in an English-speaking environment and said, listen, you got to figure this out by yourself. Like, you don't have choices here. If you want to make something out for yourself in your life, you got to do it. You got to work, and so I find a lot of relatable points between the stories here. How did it feel sitting on that airplane, flying out to US, knowing that your life will never be the same?
You have to, it's not that you feel that feeling this the first time, but it feels like you have to figure out. Now you know you have the responsibility that there is no one that is going to save you. You have to figure it out. You have to be out of your comfort zone at all the time. And it's just more like this pressure, it's like you're like, what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna go to the grocery stores. It's like 1,000 questions coming to your mind at the same time, and you don't know which you want to answer because you don't have answer for any. Like, you just think about these questions, like how the grocery store is going to be, how the food's going to be, how I'm gonna cook, how much I'm gonna have to pay in rent, how the train's gonna be, do the people there, they're gonna like me or not, and am I going to be accepted there or not, and I'm going to like, and how the food, water, everything is going to be, like you have so many questions that you cannot even ask 1/4 of all of these questions. And I think mostly the questions is pressure coming all at the same time, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. You just have to embrace that moment and say, hey, I'm gonna take one step at a time. But it takes time to get to this point where you know that you cannot answer all the questions.
Has there ever been a point where you're sitting at home, end of the day, or you're laying in your bed and you're like, I don't want to do this. This was stupid. I want to go back home. I'm homesick. I want to go back to my own town. You ever had that moment?
Oh yeah, I had for the whole 6 months. Like every 2 weeks, I would tell my professor, because after 2 weeks, I come to United States. I like the training, I like everything, but everything is new. It takes time to adapt. Man, once I move, my professor calls me. He was calling pretty much every day to ask how I was and how things are going. And then I was like, Kyle. Yeah, his name's Kyle. I was like, Kyle, I can't stay here. I want to go back home. It's like, I know what you're feeling. And it was a big help from him to understand and sit there and get a call and then talk to me. It was like, I know what you're feeling. Just try 2 more weeks. And then after 2 weeks, you can tell me again. And if you don't like it, we're going to get your flight. You're going to come back home. And then I would wait for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, I was like, no, I want to go back home. He's like, just try 2 more. And then 2 more and 2 more and 2 more. And then once you start speaking the language, after 6 months, you're like, I already know everybody here. I like these people. They like me, and you don't want to go back home anymore. You're like, yeah, that was just the first 2 to 3 months. That's hard.
Was the language the hardest part?
Yeah, the language was the hardest and easier, because we had this whole apartment with a bunch of Brazilian kids, all the same age. You're all doing the same thing, competing, training, doing everything. You're all always together in the same apartment. So the first 2 years, we didn't have to worry about the language. We are always together. It was just a little tribe in this apartment. It's like, I fight for you, fight for me. We always help each other. We always had this in this apartment. It was like, like no matter what happens. I think I was not the oldest. I was the second oldest at the apartment. It was always like from 15 to 17 years old, the range at the apartment. And I would always tell them, like, doesn't matter what happens, we're here. We always help each other. And then that's what he did for 2 years. But after 2 years, the kids, they didn't stick with it. They just left, went back to Brazil, went somewhere else, moved teams, and the only one left was myself, Tyne, and Mateus from the program, and everybody else left.
Why do you think they left? Let me rephrase. Hold on. Let me rephrase. Why did you stick around?
What I had was different than everybody else. I didn't come as I didn't come as I want to go because I'm a big fan. I know these people, and my dream is to be at AOJ. I came as, you go to United States, you want to speak the language, you want to learn how to make money, you want to learn how to work, you want to learn, because the United States is known for that, for good business, smart people that know how to make money. You're going to be exposed here. So the whole idea of me coming to the United States was to be exposed. And then we never knew about Orange County, California, and all this. It was like, we came to, my professor knew AOJ. I didn't know. My goal was always to be exposed. I think for the other kids, their goal was to be at AOJ. That was my dream. And then I want to be there. And then the difference was, because it was like, once I get something, I get very obsessed. I want to make it work here. So I belonged to two teams in my entire life. My first team, Brazil, and then my second one here in the United States. I never went anywhere else because I like to stick with things. Like, if this is not working, we need to fix it. If this is not working, we need to do different. If this is not working, we need to find a way to make it work. It's not that we have to, this is not working. Sometimes the right thing to pick somewhere else, to go to a different place. But I think the reality for people is a lot of these kids that came to the program, they were expecting something that was not real. Once you join a tribe, once you join a community such as AOJ, you're gonna have problems. It's not gonna be easy. You're not gonna train all day, train and sleep for free. You have to pay the price. You need to learn different things. You need to learn the language. You need to wake up early. You need to find a way to learn different things. But I think not all of them were able to accept that. I'm not just going to train in the morning and sleep the rest of the day. I'm going to eat good food, and then I'm going to compete whenever I want to. You have to pay the price. I don't think all of them they were able to pay the price. And my goal was to be exposed. And then I needed to be exposed. I had to pay the price. But for other kids, I don't think they had this mindset. Because honestly, once you have a big group out of, 100 kids, only 2 or 3 are going to make it. It's not like that many of them are going to make it. And then big part of the Believe and Achieve program didn't make it. So only the small percentage of us made it.
What do you think was the biggest price that you paid for this entire experience?
Mm, honestly, you're always paying the price, you know? The price is a lot. And paying the price, I believe it's a lifestyle. I don't think paying the price is a one-time thing. It's like, I'm going to do this right now, and I'm going to be done for the rest of for the rest of my life. Paying the price is a lifestyle. It's a worldview. And it's pretty much who you are, your values. And you grow up paying the price, you know, you grow up doing 5 classes instead of 1. You grow up competing every weekend. You grow up not having money, but still trying to compete. You grow up moving states, moving countries to pursue your goal, to be better. And paying the price, in my opinion, it's being out of your comfort zone. If you're out of your comfort zone, you live this lifestyle. You know nothing's gonna happen unless you make it happen. And you don't rely on others, you rely on yourself to improve. And I think that's the thing. It's not everyone that wants to live this lifestyle. But everything comes with a price, you know, and then there are people that are gonna be paying the price for the rest of their lives. I'm paying the price here. Right now, you're paying the price with your school, with your students, and then you're always over delivering to your students, because what you're doing here now, you didn't have to do this, you know, but now you have the people watching, and you're putting the effort to do this. But I think most of people, they're not willing to do this, to do the basic, to be consistent, and sometimes not wanting to do something, but you're still doing it, and they don't want to be out of their comfort zone, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I actually, I can't even disagree with you. I feel like these days, today, people don't even do the minimum. I feel like there is this level of comfort, and I don't know if lazy is the phrase that I want to use, but it's very comfortable. And I was just telling even a couple of my younger students, my teenagers last week, I was telling them, if you just do a minimal work, like minimal work, you will succeed in life today. Like you don't have to do extra, you know what I mean? Because everybody else quits. Everybody just, they give up. And the hard work is just sticking around. That's the hard work.
It is. And growing up, you can see a lot of that. And a lot of kids, they say they want to win. They say they want to do this. But then as we grow up, we start, you know, identifying these kids. You know, they show up, they say, I want to be a champion. I want to work. They're younger. They seem to be hungry. But when you put them to do the work, then the work's going to tell, the actions are going to tell if they're going to be the champion or not. Because for a lot of them, they're like, I want to be doing this because, and a lot of people, they joined AOJ at some point, or maybe that's still happening. They join because they think that the secret is, we hold a secret with us there. It's like, we have this certain technique, we have this instructor, we have this coach, we have this platform that changes everything. And I'm gonna be very honest, it doesn't change anything if you don't know how to use it, if you don't put in the work, if you don't get obsessed. The platform is great, but if you're obsessed, if you're not obsessed, if you're a lazy person in a great platform, most likely that will not work.
Nope.
So if you're a very hardworking and obsessed with what you're doing, you have a passion, and you don't have the platform, most likely you will still succeed. So that's the difference. We see a lot of kids coming to AOJ saying, I want to be the champion, I want to be this, and I'm going to be that. They're very confident. But when we put them to do 5 classes in a row, the second day, the third day, they're not showing up. They're sick. They're like, I don't want to show up. I'm sore. Everyone's sore. Everyone's tired. We are tired, but we keep coming. We keep fighting. I don't want to fight the tournament. It's too far. I don't want to do this because this. It's like they always find the excuse for every solution you bring. It's like, no, but for you to win, you have to fight at least 10 competitions, 12 competitions in the next 3 months. It was like, no, but I cannot do that. It's like, yeah, if you cannot do that, someone did it before. That means
Right.
you can.
You can. I mean, yeah. Yeah. Jonathan, let me ask you this. There is a very clear theme that I'm noticing about you. And that's this ongoing obsession and hunger to get better. And as you mentioned just a second ago, everybody wants to be a world champion. Everybody wants to be good or the best. Everybody wants a gold medal. Everybody wants that job. Everybody wants the promotion. Everybody wants the car. Everybody wants the house. But it's completely different when we are obsessed about the work. And I feel like, I could be wrong, and feel free to correct me here, but I feel like you are completely obsessed about work. Am I right on that?
I would say you're right. Nah, not only about the work, but delivering a great service and delivering a great product just to be better. Because a lot of people is like, I want to be this, I want to have money, I want to have that. And once my friend told me, I was training for roads at brown belt, and he told me it's like more important than the end result is the journey. It's like the journey is always going to be more important than everything else you have in your life, because those are going to be your memories. That's what you're going to remember, and that's what you're going to live at that moment. And you can't just think about, I want to be that, I want to have the money, I want to have the title, I want to have that. But you just need to enjoy the process and work as hard as you can to have your reward the same day. You don't want to go one day and go home and think about, it's like, you're going to have these days where you're like, I could have done better. But if you wake up every day and you're like, I want to be better, at least I want to try to be better. You don't have to be better. Maybe you're not going to be better. You cannot be better every day. You cannot be the best of ourselves every day, but you can try to be better, and you can have the intention. And I think that's what drives me. Like, a lot of people, and also you need to find your passions, what you're passionate about. Because sometimes if this Risecore, my studio, if the online, whatever I have been doing in my life, I didn't like it, I wouldn't be able to do it. If fighting wasn't my thing, I wouldn't be able to do it. I kept fighting. I kept doing it because I liked it and because I wanted to be better. I'm with the studio. I have this project going on because I like it. But if I was going to do something that somebody told me or somebody said was going to be good, I wouldn't be following my dreams. I would be following somebody else's dream. But it's much easier to have obsession when you're doing something you like. It's just like if I was a jiu-jitsu athlete and then now I realized that wasn't my thing. That's just simply not what I like to do. It's okay to shift and go somewhere else. And people sometimes they take this, I want to be this, and that's what they want to be for the rest of their life. That's a big commitment for someone young to make. It's like, I commit to be a jiu-jitsu world champion when I'm 12. Now I can never find something else. And I don't think that's the right way to go with life. As long as you keep pursuing and believing something is strong enough and you're like, I think I'm right, and then you follow that, I think that's where the obsession comes from. And you're like, I think this is good, and I'm going to prove that this is good. And people are going to see, and it's going to be beneficial to a lot of people, and you have to keep following it. But if you don't believe in your own product, you're like, I'm going to do it because everybody else is doing it. I'm going to do it because that's the only way to do it. You're not even thinking deeply about what you want for your own life. So the idea is pretty much to believe what you're creating and what you want for your life, not what others want for yourself. Because if one day I have a project that I want to do something different, I'm going to do it. If I really believe from the bottom of my heart that's going to be better and I'm going to be very passionate about it, I'm going to do it. And then I can simply change and pivot and do something else.
Have you ever sat down and thought about, where does this come from within you? Like, why so obsessed? Why loving the process? Why wanting to love what you do? Why having a dream? Like why? Where's the seed? Where's the beginning of this deep inside you? Like, where did it start?
Um, values that you learn when you're a kid. Like I I grew up with my dad working very, very hard, to find a way to come and support us somehow. I've seen my dad losing everything. I have seen my dad trying to build it again. I have seen my dad coming and working 15 hours a day. It was like, I cannot do less than that. If you can do it, I can do it. Like, you have to understand that if somebody else can do it out there, you're able to do it. And some people, they're doing with things that they don't even learn, they don't even love, and then they're still doing it. It was like, if I find something that I love, I can do even more of that. And like my dad was a really hard worker guy. He worked really, really, really hard. And growing up seeing that, is like my dad, he's like has no bad time to work. He would wake up and work and take me to work. And then that's when he had a really fun time, like when he would take me to the side jobs that he had, and we would spend time together working. And then I grew up in that environment of my dad always told me, he's like, nobody's going to give you anything. You have to work for it. It was like, I'm not going to give you everything because I barely have for it. All of us. You have to find a way, your own way to build your thing. And then he always told me that I had to work hard to whatever I wanted to do in my life. And my mom always seeking excellence. My mom, she was a perfectionist, and she would always be more concerned about the product than anything else. My dad, he would never be concerned about any product. It was all about the amount of work you're gonna put into something. But my mom, she was completely different. She was all about excellence. It has to be good. It has to be perfect. It has to solve problems. The person needs to look, and you need to always over deliver. And then putting these two things together, I think that's where it came from learning how to work hard. If you're working towards something, always give your best. If you're saying, if you have something to do, you do it. And then on my mom's side, you just have to do it with excellence. If you commit to do something, if you say you're going to do something, do it the best way possible and over deliver. And that's how we blended together. And then going with my professor, he taught me as loyalty. Your side, you have to really focus on these people. There are people, they're not going to like you. Don't even bother with these people, but there are people that are on your side. You need to support these people. They're the most important people. It doesn't matter if they have numbers, if they have money, if they have fame, but you need to support these people that are on your side, because they're always going to be on your side. And I think that's where it comes from, just my education since you're a little kid and growing up and seeing these things. You're like, I think that's the way to go. You have to work hard. You need to have a purpose. You have to deliver a great product.
I want to congratulate you.
And then you have to have loyalty.
The things that you speak of are really unheard of these days. This is not how people think. This is not how people were brought up. This is, I think, the generations that are coming up today, these days, they don't think in those categories. Hard work is definitely not part of the characteristics. Some do, to all fairness, but most don't. And you talk about going above and beyond. You talk about there's no easy days. You talk about not only hard work, you talk about perfection. You're talking about loyalty. That's a word that's often not used in jiu-jitsu particularly. I mean, in all this is a consequence where, the community of society where we find ourselves today. But it's really refreshing to hear somebody talk about all of this with such a passion as you do today. So I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.